15 years, the damage that load shedding has brought to this economy has been incalculable.
The death toll from the recent floods in the South African province of KwaZulu-Natal has risen to 49.
After a fairly subdued night, the Knysna fires have begun to grow again.
We begin tonight with the nation already on edge in the coronavirus pandemic as protests turn violent.
London's burning and no one seems able to bring it under control.
You're listening to Off-Grid Survival, South Africa's first prepper podcast, an OGS media production.
We are your hosts,
Brett
and Ben.
How's it, Ben? How you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Brett. How are you doing today?
It's been a rough week. Rough 2 weeks. Had a very long shift at work. So it's nice to have a day off where I can actually sit down and do what I enjoy doing as opposed to my normal everyday work.
Do they actually let you come home in the 2 weeks?
Yeah, no.
Oh, so you have it easy.
Yeah, very funny. No, it's just retail is always a nightmare, and coming into school holidays now, we just had to work a little bit harder.
Yeah, I missed you on camp on the long weekend.
Yeah, no, I was really bummed that I couldn't attend that one. Sounded like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, work is work, and sometimes we just got to soldier through.
Yes, but the one upside to the whole thing is autumn is arriving finally, and it's starting to become a little bit of a chill in the air. I'm waiting for the mozzies to leave.
The mozzies never leave around here, it feels like.
No, they definitely become way less in winter. Well, that's awesome.
I actually saw something on Snow Report on Facebook this morning. On Tuesday night, it snowed in the Swartberg here.
This Tuesday passed.
First snow of the season in the middle of March.
Oh, I didn't feel like there was snow.
It was cold down here in Sedge, but we didn't get frost on the car or anything yet. But up on the high ground, they've already had snow.
Yes. I haven't yet had an evening where I felt a fan was not necessary. So when I start not putting on my fan, then I know winter's finally arrived.
Yeah.
So I don't have to have a fan on me when I sleep.
Well, I've recently started putting a blanket back on the bed, just as opposed to just the sheets. So.
No, I'm not there yet.
No, we're in a bit of a hollow here. It gets quite nippy. So what are we going to talk about today, dude?
I don't know. It's been
it's been a weird week.
But it's also been the question we've been asking each other for the last half an hour.
So I've been reading a lot in the last week, what with all the Ukraine, Russia stuff going on, about a lot of the European countries. Their governments are actually starting to send out advisories. Prep for 3 days, minimum.
Okay.
The UK has just put out, well, they've actually had a website for almost 6 to 8 months now, where they are advising people what to stockpile and that sort of thing. They're not specifically saying war, but they're implying it. They say in case of natural disasters, floods, earthquakes, that sort of thing, but the UK doesn't have earthquakes as far as I know. Floods, yes, especially in the hill country and stuff like that. They quite often have heavy rains, but yeah, the Europeans are starting to get a little bit worried by our Russian friends.
Yeah, but I also start wondering what maybe it's a bit of the paranoia or conspiracy thing coming in. In the World Wars, Britain confiscated all the people's stuff. It wasn't yours anymore. Yeah. Your production, everything else wasn't yours anymore, even on your own farm. So now they're saying you need to prep. You need to spend your money to put stuff away. You need to prepare. And then war comes, and they turn around and goes, "It's now ours." and then what you do?
Yeah, I'm not sure if they would get away with that in the modern age.
Yeah,
although it all depends on the extent of the war, as you say.
Unless their laws have changed, they can very quickly turn around and just say, "Okay, well, it's now for the greater good. It's you hoarding now.
Yeah.
Before you were a prepper, Now you're a hoarder, and it's now all the governments. And that's one of the reasons why if you're going to go into a preparedness mindset for more than a day or two stuff, you need to seriously think of how do you store it? Where do you store it?
Off-site or...
And focus on your OPSEC, because, yeah, it's nice to show a picture of your pantry all fully stocked, but you should only be advertising, if you're going to advertise, your 3-day stock, not your 40 years stock.
40 years, I wish, dude. Yo, I wish I had that kind of money. But yeah, it's been coming for a while, I think. Was it 2 years ago, Norway or one of the other Scandinavian countries sent out pamphlets to every single citizen. It might actually have been Denmark, I think. To every citizen in the country, how to prepare. This is what you need. This is how to store water. This is how to store food. What types of food to store. And a lot of those countries also have emergency conscription that can happen at any time.
Yeah.
So, we haven't had conscription in this country since the early 90s. I think the last time there were call-ups was 92, 93, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the popo hit the fan, as you say. We start seeing conscription around the world.
Yeah, but now, if that happened in South Africa, okay.
I'm too old and fat, so...
I was going to bring that up, that, we're talking about conscription, and we're like, both of us are tapping on the half century or over, and would they really want us?
No, I'm not thinking about us specifically, but...
Yes.
In the old days, fighting age was 18 to 30. Nowadays, I think they'll pretty much take whoever they can get.
Yeah, anybody that can stand on their own 2 legs and carry a firearm.
Yeah. It all depends on the situation, how bad things get.
I think that's how they choose out of the troops of South Africa as well, who's of fighting fitness. Yeah. If they can stand on their own 2 legs and carry a firearm.
I can quite easily get drunk enough that I can't stand. That's fine.
You might wake up on a troop transport.
Yeah, geez, can you imagine? Nightmare fuel.
And then you start looking at how those countries are encouraging people to prepare. And South Africa, they push the whole expropriation with a compensation, and everybody thinks it is property, land. But it's property, anything you own. Your bank account, your preparedness, your pair of jocks that you're wearing, anything that you have at any point that they want to determine that your stinky pair of jocks is for the national good, you're going to be walking commando.
I think that goes a lot for a lot of countries, that they've got these clauses in their constitutions or in their laws that allows them to, in an emergency situation, do certain things. We saw it during lockdown. Some of the stuff that got tried by our own government. There was, I don't know which minister it was, but he banned flip-flops and miniskirts. It's like, what did that have to do with COVID? That had nothing to do with the lockdown. It was just somebody trying to impose their cultural will, if I can put it that way, on the masses. And he got shot down very quickly for that. Should I say shut down as opposed to shot down?
Well, the big thing about it is all those emergency things normally have a lifespan, a time limit that they can apply. When you have, and most governments have it, if they need to, they will give you compensation for your property that they take away or they utilize or something. But this expropriation without compensation means they don't have to worry about that. They don't need to say, oh, well, your property is worth 10 Rand and you fight them about the 10 Rand that it's actually worth 10 million. There they just go, sorry, we want it. And they don't have to tell you why they want it. It's just for the...
I'll be honest, I haven't read the bill in full. I know the very basics that's been reported in the news media.
I've listened to people that are a little bit more knowledgeable than me about and understand the English language written in legalese. That some of the ways they put stuff is like really? What does this mean? You know, you read it and it you understand the English words, but they don't compute.
It's the way the words have been strung together.
Yeah, and then the way they do it covers and hopefully covers loopholes or whatever else. But the biggest problem in South Africa is they keep just adding laws and laws and laws and laws. And that's one thing, like I said before, I like what America's doing now. They're going through don't just add a law. If you want to add a law, look at which laws you can get rid of. The regulations that shouldn't be there, that are from the 1800s or whatever.
Yeah, they've got some really old statutes that are still on their books.
Yeah.
Depending on which state you're in or whether it's national.
And South Africa, you know, we have laws that come from the old regime. We've got laws that come from the new regime. We got laws that come from the new regime. And all these things are stacked one on top of the other. And oftentimes you have to read the law, then you have to find the amendment to the law, then you have to find the amendment to the amendment of the law. And it becomes so confusing for the layperson.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I'm looking, like I said, I've been looking at the countries in Europe that are now starting to send stuff out to their people. And it's the European Union is taking this possible conflict very seriously. And I think if it spreads out of the Russia-Ukraine sphere, we're going to see some quite serious stuff happening. Never mind all the stuff that's happening in the Mediterranean and the Red Sea with the Houthis and all of that stuff. Bombing or sending missiles into just general shipping. They've been, Somalia, along the coast there, they've been for years piracy. And
but they've also been protected by the international thing of, you can't do X, Y, Z. But if they really start sending missiles and all that up stuff, and they cause the international community to stand up, they're going to regret it a lot. Because at the moment, definitely, everybody's trying to be like humane and
softly approach.
Yeah, use water cannons on the pirates trying to shoot you dead. Don't shoot back, and you can't do this because it's in international waters, and the pirates don't care.
Yeah.
But the moment that they irritate the international community enough, then the international community will not care anymore, and then the pirate will have a problem.
Yeah. So back to what we're talking about with the different countries. So I think the latest one I saw was France has now issued advisories to their citizens. So I think do those governments know something we don't, or are they just being overly cautious? They keep coaching it in that it's also for natural disasters, but I think there's more to it than that.
Do their governments know more than our government? Yes.
Quite possibly.
Do their governments know more than what we know? I doubt it. But I can just imagine our government trying this. And I know a lot of people that don't live in brick houses. Yep. They live in shacks. One of the guys I work with came to work. He came to work. He left his cell phone at home and his, I can't remember, something else at home. And they broke into his home. He left it there because he didn't want to lose it, because he wants it to be safer. Yes. So he came to work and they stole everything. And I said, "Are you sure it's not your neighbors?" He goes, "Probably, because they know when I go to work and they know what's there and stuff like that." And they didn't take his TV. They took the thumb drive out of his TV and a whole bunch of other stuff on his cell phone, but they didn't. And that's the thing. Now we're going to tell people like that to prepare, and the guy's going to be like, "No."
Well, we've now started through the channel selling the food socks. Yeah. And I was speaking to some of the guys that live up the road from us and saying, are you guys interested in maybe buying some stuff? And they're like, they'll buy as they need, because if they leave any food at home, the family just takes it. Family will literally walk into their house and just help themselves to whatever food they want. And when I say house, I mean shack. Yeah. Generally. And I'm like, for me, that's something like if somebody did that to me, I would be like really angry. They just buy food as they need, so they're literally living hand to mouth. And the problem with that is that, from a preparedness point of view, if something does happen, where are those people going to get food? If the food supply gets cut off to this area for 3-4 days, they've got no food at home.
Yeah.
We've got our food that we've prepped for. So are they going to then come after us? Or do we, I know I mentioned this last time, do we encourage people to start like food gardens and that sort of thing? And I know I've been speaking online to some people on Facebook because I actually posed that exact question. What do we do as preppers to help people in our community so that we lessen the impact of a disaster when it does happen? And by teaching people how to be self-sufficient, not doing the work for them, teaching them how to do it themselves, I think we can also lessen some of that impact on ourselves if something happens.
Yeah. Well, I think it's very much not doing stuff for people, teaching them to do it themselves, but also teaching them the value of community and to stand as a community. Because too much in the past, what's been leveraged is, the white man's bad, the black man's bad, the color man's bad, whatever,
Yeah.
And that's been leveraged. But the community needs to stand together, and it doesn't matter what color the criminal is. The criminal is bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So make sure that you report those criminals to the police, because otherwise, what happens? You have a community garden that gets started, or farming, or whatever else, and they either come wreck it just for the sake of wrecking it, or as soon as the stuff is ripe, they steal it. So now you're having to have communities stand together and be armed, which, quite frankly, South Africa has made almost impossible legally. And then what happens? And as soon as you do something like that, the law is against you, because the law is more on the criminal side, just through all the things put in place. So now you're trying to help guys that are living below or equal or maybe slightly above the breadline to live better, and the criminals that the government is supposed to be taking off the streets are making everybody's life harder.
Yeah.
If you go into the area, your life is more in danger. If the people there want to stand up against criminals, their lives are in danger. So how do you go about it? And you can't go about it by going in and imposing the way you would do it in the suburbs, or the way you would do it in your housing complex. You would need to go in there and work with the locals of that area. And it doesn't matter if they're Xhosa, Zulu, Sotho. You go in and find out how their culture and their cultural thing works, and so get their community on board.
Yeah.
And when they do it as a community and they stand together, criminals are too scared. But as soon as
we saw that happen on the Cape Flats, but unfortunately the gangs there are so rampant that it doesn't last very long.
Well, the only reason the gangs are rampant is because the community's protecting the gangs, because they are the fathers and brothers and daughters and sisters and whatever else. But if families stand together and won't accept criminals, even their own family, then you'll get rid of gangs, and then you'll get rid of thieves and stuff like that. But while the families are protecting the criminals, you can't get rid of the criminal element, because they are you.
Yeah. No, so it's very easy for us to talk about this stuff, but actually putting it in practice is another story entirely. But yeah, just general, like the preparedness that's being talked about overseas, they're not talking about prepping more than 3 days. And that is, I think, a bad mindset for communities or people in general, in that they now believe that within 3 days, the government's going to come and help. Whether it's FEMA in the States or whatever it is in your country, if something bad happens, the government's going to come rescue us. And we know from experience watching things happen overseas and in our own country that when SHDF does actually happen, it happens to everybody, including the government. And it takes them a long time sometimes to actually mobilize. And they might not have stuff nearby. It might take a day, 2 days to get stuff to you. And you cut off for a week or 2 weeks. So having 3 days of prep, in my mind, it's a good start, but it's nowhere near enough.
Yeah, especially, in a first world country like America with all their thing, it was longer than 3 days.
No, look at what happened in Katrina.
Yeah, and the thing is that the locals get in faster than the government.
Yeah.
In South Africa, where every politician wants to line his pockets, okay, regardless of the color of the politician and the party they belong to, they're politicians. They push their own agenda and they want to get their own thing done ahead of the people that voted for them. And when you have the army with the same mindset, the police often with the same mindset, the people that are coming to rescue you, you might be better off having your own rescue plan.
Yeah, definitely. You should always have your own plan for any situation, whether it's fire, flood, or war.
Yeah, and again, I'm not talking about individual people, because individuals are a lot more responsible than the group.
Yeah,
often, but because there's so many people in various groups that are corrupt, okay, and unfortunately they've made an effort to weed out the people doing the proper work, doing the good jobs and stuff like that, and get rid of them because they don't want those people making them look bad. So in the end, you have people coming in to rescue you that are more interested about enriching themselves.
Yeah, altruism is a good thing, but it's never really there. People are always doing something to better themselves, or not so much better themselves, but what they're getting something out of it, whether it's fame and fortune or money. It's that nobody does anything for free.
Well, the thing is, even if people do stuff for free, okay, it's a learnt behavior. We aren't, when we're born, we have a little snatchy, thing, but it's mine.
Yeah.
And you snatch your stuff. You don't want to share your toys. You have to learn. You have to learn to give stuff away and not expect in return. It's easier to learn that if you have.
Yes. But
sometimes the most giving people are the ones that really have very little, because they understand, they don't have a false sense of, I'm not part of this community. They understand their livelihood, their ongoing existence is reliant on their community. So they're more likely to become involved in the community. Whereas a lot of people that are pretty well off, they isolate themselves and they aren't part of their community. And then you got another tipping point where people are really well off. They might not be involved in the community, but obviously they get perks for being charitable and stuff like that, and whether
tax cuts or whatever,
or fame or whatever else you like you mentioned, and that's the thing with our communities and the people we're involved with. The only way to achieve a level of community is to start changing people's mindsets, their hearts on subjects, and draw together. So we're not distinguishing and separating along color lines or race lines or religion lines and stuff. And the Knights of Fires showed it well. You didn't care the color of the person fighting with you. You didn't care what they believed in. You didn't care what clothes they wore, how much they earned, whatever. All you cared about was them carrying water,
Yeah.
or them helping full water jugs, or bringing you a coffee or somebody else a coffee or whatever else, and organizing. So you're pulling together as a team, as a community, and everyone's finding a niche to fill, and
You've got common ground.
exactly. And it's when people are so worried about race and religion and all that type of stuff, you have too much time on your hands. You have nothing wrong in your life. When things are going wrong, you're not worried about that.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about whether Brett has long hair or short hair or washed in the last month or not. The fact that we are working together to get out of the problem is what is important.
Yeah.
Don't worry, he washes every day. I'm not. I just use him as an example.
I even put deodorant on today.
Yeah, so it's for us to go forward as a country, and to be proud of our flag, to be proud like the Americans of their flag. Where I was watching a thing with talking about the military kids. So obviously on camp or something, a military base, they do the raising of the flag and lowering of the flag and the bugle plays.
Yeah.
The kids stop playing and they stand at attention basically while that is happening, because they're emulating their parents and their grandparents, and there is a inbuilt respect for when the flag goes up and the flag comes down and what that represents. And in South Africa, we don't have the same thing. You can see it in the army, you can see it in the police, you can see it in the government, you can see it in the citizens. The flag doesn't hold that same importance in our lives and what it represents. And I think as a community of South Africa, we need to change that. And as we get more proud of our South African flag, our South African heritage, and all the races and all the religions and all the people of South Africa and what makes it special and what the flag represents, then we will start pulling together, and then our communities can grow strong. Whether you're in the Garden Route or you're in Joburg or in Durban, and each of them have different cultures.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying culture as in a white culture or thing. You just have a laid-back, chilled Garden Route culture, and you have like a highly stressed Joburg culture, and
a slopstut culture, and
you got the surfer dudes and the what. You get different cultures, and you can't run stuff down here like they do in Joburg, because the mentality is different. We are only discovering high fences and barbed wire, whereas the guys in Joburg live in fortresses.
Yeah.
So the mentalities are different.
Well, when we moved here, going on 6 years ago now, I was just amazed. I came from Cape Town, which is, like I said, slopstut. It's fairly laid back in Cape Town. People get a little bit stressed and the traffic's terrible, but overall it's pretty chill. And coming up here, and it was like nobody's got fences around their properties. It's like if they have a wall, it's like a foot high. It's like it's just a boundary wall.
Yes.
And as you say, things are as we get more people moving from up country down here. I'm seeing higher walls going up. I even saw an electric fence on a property the other day, which is the first time I've seen that around here in ages. But yeah, we need to build communities, and building a community is strength.
Yeah.
Having people you can rely on, whether it's a small community like your mag, or it's the broader community, your neighborhood with your neighborhood watch, or even broader, your whole town, or suburb, or whatever the case may be. Making those connections is, I think, part of prepping for South Africans. We need to be cognizant of those facts. And we always talk about food and water and bug out bags and bug out locations and, the prepper go-to words, if I can put it that way.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more to having a strong neighborhood and strong infrastructure around you that isn't reliant on government. Because, to be honest, they're not going to come and help. If real shit hits the fan, the government's not going to be there to help. They probably not even going to get out of bed for under 2 million rand.
Well, it depends where the problem is, because if the problem is nationally, yeah, good luck. If the problem is in the Western Cape, then the present government will be like they did with the water restrictions and stuff in Cape Town.
Yeah.
They didn't really want to be involved because they're not in charge of the Western Cape. So
they're playing politics.
Exactly. So if it's in their benefit, they might react quickly, but you might not be happy with the way they react. If they're not in their benefit, they might not react, and you might still not be happy with the way they reacted.
Yeah.
But if the problem is national, they're going to look after themselves first. They're going to make sure their own neighborhood has power, their own neighborhood has water, their own neighborhood spa has food in it.
Yeah.
They're not going to worry about Pittsonwater or Sedgefield or wherever.
Yeah.
They're going to worry about their stuff first.
Well, just look at like electricity and stuff. Apart from our normal load shedding, the neighborhood I'm in at the moment, we've got one main distribution coming into the electricity distribution coming into the neighborhood. And every time we have a strong rain, the substation floods and the power trips. Every single time. It's been like that for years. It's never been fixed. So you're without power for, if you're lucky, 5 hours. If you're unlucky, 2 days, as it's been in the past. And then you hear, oh no, the electrician doesn't work after hours. So if the power goes off after 8 o'clock at night, you've got to wait till 8 o'clock the next morning before he will come through, even though he lives in town. And that is, why is there only one person that can do the job? And secondly, whatever happened to the money we pay our municipalities sorting problems out?
And
They're not just lining pockets.
Not to mention down here, the garden who pay availability. So
the whole country you do that, yeah. Eskom availability charge.
Yeah, it's like $6 a day for you when you go push something into the plug or switch on, that it works. And then we had a problem with the lightning and stuff. And on Monday, no power. Tuesday, no power. I think it eventually came on Tuesday evening. And we don't live in a shack.
Yep.
We live in a nice area, and it's just no power. I mean, we had 125 volts coming through, just enough so that the fridge thought it was working, not enough to run lights, not enough to charge batteries. And then on the Tuesday, there was 140 volts and then 0 volts. And eventually, even my battery pack ran out.
Yo.
And so now I'm had a word with my wife, and we've talked about it, and we need to get solar.
Yeah.
Put a proper solar system in so that we can charge during the day. And what happens then is I can set my inverter to the point where during the day I'm using solar, ahead of any Eskom, and only if it drops to a certain percentage at night, the Eskom will kick in. So the idea is to get enough solar and enough battery that I only need to worry about Eskom every now and again.
Yeah.
And in that case, I'm paying $6 a day times 30. So let's call it $200, and then I'm still paying whatever VAT on top of that.
And all the other little charges that they love to charge. Yeah.
And it's also like, why, electricity, why are we paying VAT on electricity? But anyway.
That's another story for another day.
But it's at the point now where it's like, I have to put my money where my mouth is, because I've had basic inverters and batteries and stuff for the last 20 years. And so I know a ton about that stuff, but I need to actually put the system in place correctly, properly, so my house is wired so that I don't have to have an issue. I mean, the other day, my prepaid water meter, now they forced us in the area to get prepaid water meters.
Same here.
And then my prepaid water meter stopped working. And it's the battery that's in the prepaid water meter went flat.
Yep.
Now the guy from the water department said, and he made a bypass to sort it out. He said those batteries are 300 Rand a battery, and there's 2 of them in the water meter, and they don't make them anymore.
Oh, that's a fat lot of good.
But the water meter costs 200 Rand when they install it, but it's like 400 Rand to replace the batteries. Why?
Yeah.
There are mini turbines out there that can recharge batteries. All that has to do is be put in line so you have water flowing into the house. As long as water is flowing, it can charge a battery.
Yeah.
That little meter can't draw that much power.
Yeah.
So, like, why are they designing things to fail? And they forced us. We were
same thing
We were
happened here.
happily paying lights and water, or rates and taxes, or whatever it is, to the municipality. But in our area, they forced us to get the stuff.
Yeah, I've got my own theories about why they have all these prepaid meters, and I think it's so they can turn them off easily. Nationally, they can basically push a button at some point. If they want to shut down entire suburbs, they can do that.
But they could do that anyway. All they have to do is take the main tap and go, wee, 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 and it's closed.
Yeah.
And then everybody, they don't have to switch off the meter. It's closed.
Yeah.
Or stop pumping water into a reservoir. There will be no water.
Well, those are running dry around here anyway, so when they're not finding bodies floating in them.
Yeah, but there shouldn't be a reason for us to run dry. I mean, Niza pulls it out of the Niza River. And I mean, I've talked to guys for years about the Gona drift. If they raised it a meter, the amount of water that goes up that gorge is trillions of liters of water. If they just raise the drift, the little causeway by a meter. The Niza River as well. There's a weir there where they pump out of it. Just a little bit further up the Niza River, they could put another small weir in 2 meters high. And again, trillions of liters of water up the river. Yeah. And it's not impacting farmlands, it's in gorges.
Yeah.
So the fact is, we're in the situation because it's like a farmer in the Karoo complaining about how dry it is. His dam's got a big crack running right through the middle of the dam wall. Doesn't do anything about it. Then the rain comes and all the water goes out through the crack. And then he complains that he doesn't have water anymore.
Yeah.
It's like prep beforehand. Niza, the surrounding area, everything, we need a prep.
Yeah.
Okay, take Cape Town with all that water crisis. The dam was empty. How many bulldozers they pushed through and pushed that thing deeper while it was dry?
None.
So it's like they complain about the no water, but they could have literally scraped that thing deeper, taken all the topsoil that is gathered in the bottom of
all
it,
the silt,
and sold it to farmers. Make some money on while you're doing it. But people don't think ahead.
But it goes back to general preparedness, what we always talk about, and I know we always seem to come back to the same subjects, but having general preparedness and a preparedness mindset, I think, is what is lacking in our communities in general. And as soon as people start understanding that, like I said, the government's not coming to help you, you've got to learn to help yourself. I think things will change. And I think with load shedding and with lockdown, a lot of people did wake up to that. More and more people are starting to understand that it's just not getting handed to you on a platter anymore.
Yeah.
So this isn't the old days where you could, you turn on a tap, you're guaranteed water. Hit the light switch, you're guaranteed lights. That doesn't happen anymore. Infrastructure fails, it doesn't get replaced, governments don't have money. Yeah,
simple things. If you have a family, it's your responsibility to make sure your family is safe and everything else. So just like you have a security company tasked with monitoring your place so it doesn't get broken into and everything else, buy yourself a deep freeze. Put stuff in your deep freeze. Even if it's bottles of water that freeze, so that you have really, really cold water for your mixer drinks, or I don't know. But the point is, start somewhere. And one of the easiest ways is start prepping food, because you use food all the time.
That's it, yeah.
You know, buy an extra bar of soap when you go buy. Extra toothbrushes, extra toothpaste. Because if something happens and you were meant to buy your toothpaste next week because it's running low, and something happens and you can't get toothpaste anymore, do you even know how to brush your teeth without toothpaste?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried making any of these things on YouTube that you can clean your teeth with? And if you haven't tried that, or maybe the best way is to try it, and then you'll quite happily prep toothpaste.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like brushing your teeth with wood ash. But yeah, as the old saying goes, like, one is none and two is one. So when you go to the shop and you're taking that can of tuna, if you've got the money, put another one in your trolley. If you don't have the money, find something else that can help you along the way. A little sachet of tomato puree. That's something you can put to one side. You're not necessarily going to use. It's R5.
Yeah.
You buying a bag of maize meal, buy 2. If you're buying a 10 kilo, buy an extra 1 kilo.
Yeah.
Just have something you can put to one side. We can't all go out and buy 20 kilos of rice. A lot of people can't afford it.
Yeah.
I saw a picture in the newspaper the other day. It was of just a normal shop shelf, and it was Rhodes baked beans for 24 Rand. And I was like, no, that can't be right. I zoomed in, Rhodes baked beans, 24 Rand. I thought they were like still 12 Rand a can, because that's when I last bought, because I've got so many in my cupboard. But 24 Rand for a can of baked beans, that is the most basic product you can really get.
Yes.
And if that's what we're going to be paying for that, what are we going to be paying for protein soon? We're already paying a lot for meat and chicken and stuff as it is. Don't even get started on lamb.
Well, if the people keep pushing crickets as a protein source or something like that, they're going to put regulations in place that are going to make proper meat more and more expensive.
Yeah.
Because, again, people have pushed their own agendas and ideologies on others.
As long as we don't get to the Soylent Green levels, it'll be fine.
I don't want to eat crickets. I don't
That's
care how
not
much
crickets. Soylent Green was not crickets. It was people.
Well, we'll take care of a couple of problems in the world.
But yeah.
Yeah, in the vein of, talking about prepping and stuff, I got that, I think I showed you, a rack from Take-A-Lot, and you can basically put your tins in, and they roll backwards and they roll forwards again, so that as you buy your tins of baked beans, you can put them in the top, and they're the latest ones, and the ones that you bought first are rolling forward underneath. So those are the ones you use.
So you've got good FIFO.
Yeah.
First in, first out.
Yeah.
Sorry, retail.
Yeah, I think it was also part of those acronyms that we went through, now that I'm remembering. But it makes your life easy, because when you stack them in your cupboard, so now sometimes they stack really nicely in your cupboard and everything's a perfect height, and if you really got a lot of prepper, you stacked all the way to the back. But now the problem is you keep putting in the front and you keep using the front, and when you notice again, your ones at the back have started to evolve, or your tins might rust, the sell by date might come and go. like your best before. So the easiest way is to have stuff where that self-rotate. It takes the thought process out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to be like me. You take all your bully beef tins out again, and you look through everything, and you put them in the ones with the oldest date at the back. Not the oldest date, as in. Okay, so the ones that are gonna expire first, you put in the front, and the ones you're gonna expire that last.
So
that made more sense.
That rack is very cool. I've seen them before. I've actually seen them as beer can dispensers. My priorities are slightly different sometimes. But the problem with that type of rack is it all depends where you buy your food. So, for instance, you've now gone and bought, let's say we're doing baked beans again.
Yes.
You've bought baked beans from Pick and Pay, and now the next time you go shopping, you go to Checkers, and you buy baked beans at Checkers.
Yeah.
The pallet that Pick and Pay got in 3 months ago that you bought might have a newer date than the stuff that Checkers had, because maybe they bought in 10 pallets and it's been sitting in their warehouse.
Yeah.
So you still need to check your dates.
Yes.
So what?
But you can also take the first one out. You take it out, check your date versus the ones you've just got. But generally, you start learning to check that stuff when you're buying it.
Yeah. So as I've said before, what I do with my stuff is I have a permanent marker in my pantry cupboard. And on the top of every single can is written what it is, so that if you're looking down, say you have to pack stuff into a box.
Yes.
If you're looking down, you can see what it is. And I have the year. So 26, 25, 27. I've got some stuff up to 28 already. And then I repack that item every single time.
Yeah.
But that's just my system. So I know if I go and buy more red kidney beans, okay, I mark all my cans, and then I pull out the entire row and I put those ones at the back.
Yes. Yeah, I must say I prefer the can, like the rack method.
The dispenser, yeah.
Yeah, but simply because when you're doing something for yourself, or if you have a partner that does the things like you do it, it's easier to maintain a system like that. But when you're dealing with a family, that you want to be able to say, go get a can of baked beans. You don't want to say, please move the whole rack this way or do this.
Yeah.
They know that they put the new ones in the top, and they take the old ones out the bottom, and it's done.
Yeah, having kids is tough, apparently.
So what I was looking at doing is I bought these from a Takealot. I think they were like $200 or something like that. It's more than I actually want to spend, but there's another lot of them that actually stack. But for me, it's like, with the work I do, I want to actually find out if my guys can actually build it, and how much it would cost to build something not as fancy maybe, but doing the job just as well. And these ones were designed for cool drink cans.
Oh, so they're a bit wider.
Yeah, so the can is longer, taller than a normal tin. I want them for tins, because then you, on the same shelf space, you're not losing space.
Yes.
I've seen guys build these racks out of wood.
I've seen some very nice wood ones. Yeah.
But then I've already explained before about my ability with wood and woodwork. So
You've got the tools, but you don't know how to use them.
yeah, I don't like woodwork. I like fire and I like chainsaws. And that's where woodwork fits into the
You can use a
story.
chainsaw as a router, apparently.
Yeah. Then you're using your chainsaw wrong or your router wrong, one of the two. But if you are that way inclined, you can quite easily make a set of racks by taking just a board and cutting angled slots into them. So when you fit the whole thing together, you have a rack that stands, and it already has all the... So you can put that rack anywhere, and you put your cans in the top and the other cans come at the bottom.
Yeah. Unfortunately, most houses in South Africa don't come with basements like they do seem to in America. So it's like storage space, I always struggle with storage space. We, as I've said before, we rent.
Yeah.
We don't own our own place. If I owned my own place, I would have like an entire room dedicated to my preps.
Upcountry, they would have basement more and under the house storage and stuff. The Karoo, a lot of the places are too much rock to actually dig down, but some of them do have that type of stuff.
Here, our water table's just too high.
Yeah, you have a indoor submarine swimming pool more than a basement.
But yeah, no, that's also something we can talk about in a future date. Is like actual where do we store stuff? I know we've spoken about it before, but yeah.
Now, just looking at these food stock bags, what type of best before?
So they've got a 12-month.
Yeah, so they got at least 12 months on their stuff. It'll be interesting to keep some past that point and cook them, because most best before it's a legal thing that just basically says
That's it.
We guarantee this thing to be usable below this date.
Yeah.
And I think I've said before, I've got chili beef bovril, and its best before date was 2017, and I bought it quite a bit before that, and it's been open since before 2017. And it stands in a pantry, and it gets used every now and again. Nothing has ever tried to grow on it. Nothing has ever tried to eat it.
It's chili beef bovril. Everything's scared of it.
Exactly. So just because it said 2017 doesn't mean it's rotten.
Yeah. Now, I've got a bit of an experiment in the fridge. I've got tuna sachets that expired 3 years ago, or best before was 3 years ago. But because I've kept them in the fridge, they've been in a cold temperature the whole time. So I'm curious to see what would happen if I
thought you don't eat seafood.
Tin tuna I can actually do. I think it's just been preserved. Everything's been sucked.
Yeah, but what if it's evolved over 3 years?
Well, it hasn't tried to walk out the fridge yet. So, but I've left it there to see if it'll start bloating at any point or anything like that. But obviously, with no heat, any bacteria is finding it a lot harder to do anything.
Well, I made some bacon years ago now, and I salted it and smoked it and everything, and wrapped it in cling wrap, and it's been in the meat drawer in my fridge for 2 years, and it's never leaked any moisture. It's never got up and walked out.
Well, that's because you used all the salt, dude.
No, actually, that was a equilibrium method, not a shelf stable method. Unlike the meat I gave you today, I took some tri-tip and did it. But yeah, we'll chat about that further. Maybe discuss an episode about all the things we've been trying lately.
Yeah, no, I think we need to have a look at our recipes again sometime.
So we come back to food.
We always come back to food, dude.
Eating food, prepping food, thinking about eating food and prepping food, and
well, food is important.
Talking about food,
and as you know, the rule of 3.
Yes,
you can't go for more than 3 weeks without food.
And true, if we weren't talking about food, we'd probably be talking about alcohol, and it wouldn't be a family show anymore.
Would you consider this a family show?
I would, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we can pretty much done for today. I just want to say a couple of things. We are now on YouTube. So you can find I'm slowly loading our back catalogue. I think there's 5 episodes up at the moment. It is all static image with the episode as a VO. It's been up for a week and we've already got 35 subscribers. Our one episode's on 130 listens, which is incredible. Thank you to everybody that listens to our show. We appreciate everything. Spotify, we are nearly on 200. Last I checked, we were on, I think it was 192 subscribers. We're so close, guys. If you know anybody, get them to subscribe, please. That'll be awesome, just to see the 200. But yeah, we're going to carry on putting content out. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be doing video. So what will be going up on YouTube probably from around episode 27, 28 is going to be actual full video podcast episodes.
Yeah.
That is the idea.
I wouldn't be promising. I'm still.
We'll get the little blurry thing that can like sit next to your head, and so nobody can see you.
Yeah,
It's
I
fine.
don't
now.
think people are ready to see all this.
But yeah, so we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Instagram, we're on Discord. You can find us on social media. Check out our Facebook page as well. There's a lot of stuff on the new food socks that we're selling. We're going to have a WhatsApp number going up on Facebook soon as well, so you can actually WhatsApp us, and we can have discuss stuff that on WhatsApp as well.
Yeah.
That'll be cool. Anything from your side? Any news? Oh, website? How's website coming along?
Our website developer finally got the images that she was looking for from Brett. So she's hard at work there, working on that. And I was actually speaking to Brett about, like we should have a tab for recipes.
Definitely.
So if you guys send us recipes, we can try it and maybe have a thumbs up, thumbs down thing for people who've tried the recipe, whether they like it or not like it.
That would be very cool.
We'd have to run that past the web developer. They might swear at us if we try and make it too difficult, but yeah.
We want this. You can have this. Well,
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
it's been quite an interesting learning curve for us because even meeting new people. I met a person on a camp last week, and he holds so many common views.
Yeah.
And you say, well, I'm on a podcast. Oh, what you guys talk about? Well, this. Oh, yeah, no, we also do this and this and this, and I make my own oil skins, and I do this and that, and it's so very interesting.
Yeah.
Meeting people of different lives, and some of them were policemen, some of them were other things we won't talk about, but from various backgrounds.
Yeah.
And then you start looking, okay, can you collaborate on something, or can you interview them on the things they do, whether they're a bow maker or just a enthusiast, how do they experience the prepping and the mindset around prepping, and it has changed. The whole podcast has changed the way
That you look at things.
Yeah.
No, I'm loving it. I can't believe we're on like 25 episodes already.
Yeah.
May will be a year. It's like 2 months away. It's like insane that we've been doing this for a year already. And I think for our first birthday we'll have a giveaway. We'll come up with a competition for that one, I think.
Yeah.
We've got food socks, we've got Rich Winds will be on board. We'll see if Wild Medics will maybe sponsor something. And let's see what we can do and have a 1 year birthday. But I'll speak to the guys and we'll get something together.
Yeah, it's also, like weird at this point in the chronological order of things. We are watching Matt from Demo Ranch saying his goodbyes, leaving.
That's sad day.
And he's been doing it for huge amount of years, and fully on when YouTube was newish and stuff, and we standing here with his retirement, and we only just started our journey.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy.
Cool. Yeah, it's nuts.
And he's still younger than we are.
Yeah.
Anyway, dude, it's been good. We'll see you next week.
Will do.
Cheers.
Cheers, Kibo. Bye.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Off Grid Survival. For more info and updates, feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Off Grid Survival ZA. That's it for now. We will see you next time. And always remember, be prepared. Off Grid Survival is a member of the South African Podcasters Guild. The views expressed on this podcast are those of the speakers and may not reflect OGS Media or the Guild's views. We aim for accuracy but cannot guarantee it. Please verify information independently. Consult professionals before acting on any advice given during these episodes. By listening, you acknowledge that we are not responsible for any damages resulting from reliance on our content. All content is provided without warranty.